Gomoll here from Cre8tive Cre8tions with a new video tutorial using my stamps, and today we're going to use the cute little book nerd girl, the book nerd stamp set. And yeah, what's a better idea than to create a cute little bookmark using the book nerd stamp set? Look how adorable she is. I love her. So we will create this cute, very simple, quick bookmark together. I'm sorry for the terrible light here. I will show you how to color her, and we will just create this fun mixed media tag bookmark using the book nerd stamp set and using some book pages in the background here, and using distress oxides for the coloring in the background. Yeah, so really quick yet really cute, and of course it's like super flat. Usually I love to do a lot of layering and add dimensional pieces. However, for bookmark, of course it totally makes sense to keep it flat so that it's nicely fitting in your book without destroying the pages. By the way, great book. If you haven't read it yet, do so definitely. Yeah, so I think without further ado, let's jump right in and let's get started. Yeah, so first thing here, I'm grabbing an old book which I found at the flea market, and I have this non-sticky sheet here on my work surface, adding a little bit of the distress oxides right onto this sheet, spritzing it with a little bit of water, and then I'm just kind of putting the book pages into the wet distress oxide, adding a little more water and just kind of pulling it around until I get the effect that I want on my paper here. And once it is dry, I'm grabbing a sheet of heavyweight paper or cardstock here, just about the size that I want my bookmark to be, and I'm just collaging the colored book pages onto both sides of this cardstock piece here. The cardstock is just the base so that the bookmark in the end is a little more sturdy. Yeah, and then I'm just using my paper trimmer to slightly trim off the edges to cut it into the size that I want. Next, I'm just adding a tiny bit of white acrylic paint and spreading it out using my brayer just to add a little bit of additional texture and interest to that book page here, to the background. And then I'm grabbing a black ink pad, inking the edges of my bookmark base here. Yeah, and then I'm grabbing my my stamp set here, the book nerd stamp set, and I already stamped a couple of images onto a sheet of watercolor paper here. And yeah, and then I'm just grabbing my favorite watercolor palettes. In this case, I'm using the Decadent Pie set and the complexion sets, both by Prima Marketing, and I'm also using my Daniel Smith watercolors. Yeah, and my Pentel Aqua brush with the small size tip. Definitely my favorite aqua brush. I just love how it works. I love the constant water flow it gives me, and it just gives me the exact right amount of water. Yeah, I compared so many aqua brushes, and the Pentel aqua brush definitely is my favorite. Yeah, now I'm just going right in, adding a little bit of a skin color here, a Caucasian skin color, to the face and to the little arms, and some brown to the hair. And especially with small images like this, if you use watercolor to color them, really work with very little color pigment first, and just apply the color pigment in one area. Mostly I start along the outline of the object or of the area that I'm coloring, as you can see with the tiny pants that she's wearing here. And then I'm just cleaning my brush, and with a clean brush I'm just spreading the color into the lighter area, and this kind of gives you instant shading, because on a very small image like this You can't do a whole lot of layering for the shading. Usually with watercolors you start light and you go darker and darker and darker by using the technique of layering. So kind of adding glaze up on glaze up on glaze to go darker and to really get some juicy rich colors. But again, on a small scale like this, you can't do a whole lot of this. So you already have to try to create some shadows, some midtones, and some highlights with the first layer of color that you put down. Okay, so really try this. Use very, very little color pigment and then spread it out. In this way you will instantly create like create some depth and a dimensional effect here. This takes a little bit of practice, but you will get the hang very, very, very quickly. And especially with small images like this, it is important that you are using the right brush. So definitely, if you haven't done so yet, and if you tried aqua brushes and never was satisfied with using them and not happy, maybe it was not the right aqua brush, because I tried aqua brushes even from very famous brands, which for me totally sucked. They just gave too much water or too little water, and you had to add too much pressure, and then all of a sudden there was a big blob of water. So really a frustrating experience. However, definitely give the Pentel Aqua brush a try. I'm not affiliated with them in any way. I just totally love the Pentel Aqua brushes, and I couldn't do without them. Okay, yeah, and as you can see, once I've put down all the base colors here, once the colors are dry, I'm just going back in with a dark grayish blue, adding a little bit of it to the shadow areas to just darken the the shadows ever so lightly, and to add a little bit more dimension here. And that's actually all I do for the watercolor part with smaller stamped images like this. Really a tiny bit of color goes a long way here, and just adding or layering a tiny bit of a different color up on the base color already gives you a lot of vibrancy in the colors, and yeah, it creates a lot of depth and interest. Yeah, and once I'm happy with the result here, I'm just using the scissors and cutting out my little girl, my little book nerd. And I'm not fuzzy cutting it, I'm just leaving a tiny white border around the image, because this really helps the image to stand out from the background a little better later once we collage it onto our tag. And of course it also makes it a little easier to cut it out. Yeah, and then I'm just grabbing my book nerd stamp set here, using some of the sentiments and just applying them or adding them to my acrylic block and stamping some of the sentiments with black waterproof ink onto the background here. The book nerd and proud of it, and books don't ask silly questions, just to add a little bit of interest and wording to the background. And then I'm also using this texture stamp that I have here, and I'm just using the distress oxides that are already used for the background to add a little bit of this grit graph paper effect texture to the background. Okay, so once I'm happy with that, I'm using my irresistible texture spray, and I'm not spraying it onto the background, but using that tiny like nozzle here to add some tiny spritzes and splatters to the background. This dries slightly erased and a little glossy, so it adds a little bit of texture without being too bumpy to slide it between the book pages later on. Yeah, and once this is dry here, the texture or the splatters are dry, I'm just grabbing another book sheet or book page here. Just want to collage some additional tiny pieces to the background here, and then I'm also using my girl that we colored earlier, collaging it onto the bookmark using some collage glue, some Mod Podge. Yeah, then I'm just punching a hole into the top right corner and grabbing some pieces of twine here, or of wool in this case, kind of matching the color scheme of the tag or of the bookmark, and just threading it through the hole so that you have some tassels hanging from the top, marking the page where you are in your book. And I already stamped some tiny images from this stamp set onto some clear vellum sheet, and I'm just cutting that out and adding that to the bookmark in addition to bring a little more layering into the game. Yeah, just some spritzes of the texture to the background as well for some repetition, and that was it. We're done. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope you like the result. Hope it inspires you. Yeah, so thank you so much for watching, guys, and please share your work with me. And yeah, if you enjoyed the stamps that I used in this tutorial, you can find all of my Cre8tive Cre8tions clear stamps, many different playful whimsical sets, which are perfect for creating happy mail, pocket letters, art journaling, cards, for scrapbooking, for planner girls. In my shop you can find the link below the video, or just hop on over to the link displayed and yeah, check them out and grab your favorites.